The alarm screamed through Sentinel-7 station like a dying animal. Lieutenant Hyun-woo Kim's hands flew across his console, trying to make sense of the data flooding his screens. The numbers didn't make sense. They couldn't be real. "Commander!" he shouted across the bridge. "We have multiple contacts emerging from dark space. Hundreds of them. No, thousands." Commander Tae-Yong Lee crossed the bridge in 3 strides. His face went pale as he read the data. In his 20 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The ships were massive, each one the size of a small moon. They moved with purpose, ignoring all standard hailing frequencies. Dr. Ji-won Park rushed onto the bridge, her tablet clutched in trembling hands. The research colony on Vega 9 just went dark. All communications cut off mid-transmission. Her voice cracked. There were 40,000 people there. Hyun-woo pulled up the long-range sensors. What he saw made his blood freeze. 3 more coalition worlds showed the same pattern. Active communications, civilian traffic, normal life, then nothing. Complete silence within minutes. The unknown fleet was cutting through inhabited space like a knife through paper. "Get me Coalition Command," Tae-Young ordered. His voice remained steady, but Hyun-woo could see the fear in his eyes. The response came quickly, but it wasn't what they hoped for. Coalition Command was in chaos. Every channel flooded with distress calls. Defense fleets were scrambling, but their reports made no sense. The enemy ships had hull plating that absorbed energy weapons. Kinetic rounds bounced off like pebbles. Nothing worked. Jae-hee Choi, the young engineer, spoke up from her station. "Sir, I'm detecting biological signatures from those ships. They're not just machines. They're alive." Ji-won moved to Jae-hee's station, studying the data. Her expertise in xenobiology kicked in despite her fear. These readings suggest the ships themselves are organisms, biomechanical constructs. They're feeding on the planets they attack, consuming raw matter for energy and growth. "Devourers," Hyun-woo whispered. The name felt right. These things didn't conquer or colonize. They consumed. The bridge fell silent as a new transmission came through. It was Admiral Ventar, the Coalition's supreme military commander. The proud 4-armed Kelthian looked broken. "All forces fall back to defensive positions around core worlds. We are implementing evacuation protocols for outer colonies. May the ancestors forgive us." "Amsa time, when you do 3-7, Tae-Yang closed his eyes. Evacuation protocols meant abandonment. The Coalition was giving up entire sectors of space. Billions of lives written off as acceptable losses. Another alarm. This one was local. Hyun-woo's screen showed 3 Devourer ships changing course. They were heading directly for Sentinel-7. "How long?" Tae-Yang asked quietly. 36 hours at their current speed," Hyun-woo replied. Tae-Yang activated the station-wide intercom. "All personnel, begin emergency evacuation. We have 1 day to get everyone off this station. Move quickly, but stay calm. We will survive this." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Jae-hee coordinated with the docking bays. Ji-won started organizing civilian transports. Hyun-woo continued monitoring the Devourer fleet, watching as more Coalition worlds went dark. Hours passed. The evacuation proceeded smoothly at first, but then reports came in of Devourer scout ships hunting refugee convoys. Small, fast vessels that picked off civilian transports like predators hunting prey. The death toll climbed into the billions. Ji-won found Hyun-woo at his station 12 hours into the evacuation. She looked exhausted. "This is extinction, isn't it? The Coalition's most advanced weapons can't even scratch those things. We're watching the end of galactic civilization." Hyun-woo had been thinking the same thing, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. He pulled up historical files on his private terminal, searching through humanity's pre-contact records, the data that Earth's government had sealed away when they joined the Coalition. "What are you looking for?" G1 asked. An idea. Probably a terrible one. His fingers flew across the keyboard, accessing files marked with security warnings. Before humanity joined the coalition, we were different. We fought wars that would shock any civilized species. We built weapons that the coalition banned as barbaric. G1 leaned closer. The Unification Wars. I read about them in restricted archives. Humanity nearly destroyed itself. Yes, Hyunwoo said. But we didn't. We survived because we learned to fight without rules, without honor, without mercy. We did whatever it took to win. He pulled up communication frequencies that hadn't been used in 50 years. Old Earth military channels from before first contact. Before humanity learned to be civilized. What if that version of humanity still exists? What if they kept the old weapons? The old ways? Just in case. Hyunwoo looked at G1. What if we call them? G1 stared at him. The coalition would never approve. Those weapons, those tactics, they violate every treaty we signed. The coalition is dying, Hyunwoo said flatly. In 3 days, maybe less, we'll all be dead or digested by those things out there. Rules don't matter anymore. 2. Rules don't matter anymore. G1 was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Do it. Call them. Call the monsters. Hyunwoo found Taeyang in the evacuation bay, helping load children onto transport ships. He pulled the commander aside and explained his plan. Taeyang listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. You understand what you're asking? Taeyang finally said. If old Earth still has weapons, revealing them could get humanity expelled from the coalition. We could become outcasts. If we don't, there won't be a coalition to expel us from, Hyunwoo replied. Taeyang looked at the children boarding the transport. Young ones from a dozen different species, all scared, all trusting that the adults would save them. He made his decision. Send the message. Use my authorization codes. Hyunwoo returned to his station and began crafting the transmission. He used every old Earth military frequency he could find, broadcasting on channels that hadn't carried signals in half a century. This is Lieutenant Hyunwoo Kim, Coalition Station Sentinel-7, he began. If anyone from old Earth is listening, we need you. The galaxy is burning. The coalition is falling. Billions are dying. Our weapons don't work. Our defenses are failing. We need the warriors who survived the Unification Wars. We need the humans who knew how to fight for survival. This is our extinction. Send everything you have. Send everyone. Please. Everyone. Everyone. Send everyone. He transmitted the message on continuous loop, knowing it would take time to reach Earth even at light-speed communication speeds. Jae-hee approached his station nervously. Lieutenant, the Devourer ships just accelerated. They'll be here in 12 hours, not 36. Hyunwoo acknowledged the report and kept broadcasting. Behind him, G1 organized the last of the evacuations. Taeyang prepared the station's minimal defenses, knowing they would do nothing against what was coming. They had 12 hours. Earth was 3 weeks away at best. The message continued to broadcast into the void, a desperate prayer sent to monsters, hoping they would become saviors. The message reached Earth's Kuiper Belt 36 hours after Hyunwoo sent it. In the cold darkness beyond Neptune, where no coalition observer ever looked, something stirred. Admiral So-hyun Nam sat in her command chair aboard the dreadnought Indomitable, reading the transmission for the 5th time. Her gray hair was cut military short, her face lined with scars from wars the galaxy had forgotten. She had been waiting for this moment for 50 years, dreading it, preparing for it. Wake everyone, she ordered. Full combat alert. Authorization code. Titan rising. Throughout the Kuiper Belt, hidden bases came alive. Ships that weren't supposed to exist powered up their reactors. Crews who officially didn't exist rushed to battle stations. Earth's hidden fleet. The secret shame and desperate insurance policy of humanity, prepared for war. Captain Dong Hyun Kang entered the bridge, still fastening his uniform. Admiral, we're receiving confirmation codes from all fleet elements. 212 ships responding. Full combat readiness in 4 hours. So Hyun nodded. 200 ships. Not nearly enough to fight what the transmission described, but it was everything humanity had kept hidden from the Coalition's watchful eyes. Young Miseo's voice crackled over the communication channel from her fighter wing. Admiral, my pilots are ready. Just point us at something, and we'll break it. Patience, squadron leader, So Hyun replied. We have 3 weeks of hard travel before we reach the fight. Bong Soo-yoon appeared on her screen from engineering. The chief weapons engineer looked excited and terrified in equal measure. Admiral, I've been running calculations. Our weapons were designed to fight humans, not alien bioships. I can't guarantee they'll be effective. A big enough explosion kills anything. So Hyun said coldly. Make sure our explosions are big enough. Dong Hyun pulled up tactical displays showing the fleet composition. Dreadnoughts, armed with nuclear arsenals that the Coalition had banned 400 years ago. Frigates carrying kinetic kill weapons that violated 3 interstellar treaties. Stealth ships with biological warfare capabilities that made even hardened soldiers uncomfortable. Sir, we need to discuss the political situation, Dong Hyun said carefully. If we reveal these weapons, Earth's government will face severe consequences from the Coalition. So Hyun stood and walked to the main viewport, looking at the hidden fleet assembling in the darkness. Captain, did you listen to that transmission? The Coalition is dying. 17 species with all their advanced technology can't stop this threat. They need us. They need the monsters they thought they had civilized out of existence. She turned back to face her officers. 50 years ago, Earth joined the Coalition. We agreed to disarm, to become peaceful, to evolve past our violent nature. We dismantled our military and pretended to be something we weren't. But some of us remembered the unification wars. We remembered what it took to survive when extinction was the alternative. Young Mi spoke up from her fighter bay. Ma'am, what happens after? If we save them using weapons they find barbaric? We live with it, So Hyun replied. We become the thing they fear, save their lives anyway, and deal with the consequences. That's what warriors do. End describe. Bong Soo transmitted new calculations. Admiral, I have a proposal. If we overclock the FTL drives past safety limits, we can cut travel time from 3 weeks to 4 days. What's the cost? So Hyun asked, though she already knew the answer wouldn't be good. 10% crew casualties from gravitational stress, maybe more. The drives will burn out after 1 jump, stranding us at the battle site, and the crews will need combat-grade stimulants to stay conscious through the acceleration. The bridge fell silent. Bong Soo was proposing to kill their own people just to arrive faster. It was madness. Do it, So Hyun ordered. Volunteer crews only. Anyone who isn't willing to risk the jump can transfer to standard speed transports. No judgment, no shame. Dong Hyun checked the crew rosters as the call went out. Within an hour, the results came back. Every single crew member volunteered. Not one person chose safety. They know what this means, Dong Hyun said quietly. We might die before we even fire a shot. They also know that Sentinel-7 has maybe 3 days before it falls. So Hyun replied. We don't have time for safe choices. Rees. The fleet began final preparations. Bong Soo and his engineering teams modified the FTL drives, pushing them beyond their designed limits. Medical officers distributed stimulant packs to every crew member. Fighter pilots ran combat drills even though they wouldn't reach the battle for days. So Hyun recorded a message to Earth's civilian government. She kept it brief. By the time you see this, we'll be gone. The fleet you didn't know existed is deploying to save the Coalition that tried to make us forget who we are. If we survive, You can decide how to punish us. If we don't survive, remember that we chose this. Forgive us for what we're about to become." She sent the message and deleted it from her local files. What happened next was between her fleet and the enemy. 4 hours later, the hidden fleet entered formation. So-hyun watched from the Indomitable's bridge as 200 warships aligned for the jump. Dreadnoughts, carriers, frigates, destroyers, support vessels. Everything humanity had built in secret. "All ships report ready," Dong-hyun announced. So-hyun took a deep breath. Fleet-wide channel. Her face appeared on screens across every ship. Thousands of faces looked back at her. Young and old. Veterans and recruits. All of them ready to die. 50 years ago, humanity joined the stars, she began. We thought we were leaving our violent past behind. We thought we were becoming something better. But violence isn't a choice you make. It's a tool you use when everything else fails. Today, everything else has failed. She let that sink in. The coalition is falling. Billions are dying. They need weapons they outlawed, tactics they find disgusting, and warriors they thought were extinct. They need us, not the civilized version of humanity they wanted us to be. The real version. The dangerous version. So-hyun's voice hardened. We're going to jump into hell. Some of us will die before we even arrive. The rest will die fighting things we don't understand, with weapons we barely control. But we're going anyway, because that's what humans do. We survive, no matter the cost. Word 210. She paused. When we arrive, show them why humanity survived the unification wars. Show them why you don't civilize apex predators. You just make them better at hiding their teeth. Jump in 3 minutes. The channel closed. Across the fleet, crews secured themselves for the brutal acceleration. Medical teams stood ready with emergency equipment. Youngmi strapped into her fighter, knowing the cockpit would become a prison of crushing gravity. Bong-soo watched his modified drive spin up to dangerous levels. The energy readings climbed past red into zones that had no safety ratings. "This is the stupidest thing I've ever built," he muttered. "It's going to be beautiful." So-hyun gripped her command chair. She thought about the young lieutenant who sent the message. Hyun-woo Kim, trying to hold a research station against extinction. He had called for monsters. She hoped he was ready for what he summoned. "All ships, engage overclocked FTL on my mark," she ordered. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Jump. Space twisted. The hidden fleet vanished from the Kuiper Belt in a flash of impossible physics. Behind them, Earth's civilian government woke to find their military gone and their secrets revealed. Ahead of them, 3 weeks became 4 days. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. But the Devourers were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology. It was the willingness to become whatever was necessary to survive. The monsters were coming. And they were on the galaxy's side. The hidden fleet emerged from FTL 4 days later. And immediately, 12 crew members died. Their hearts simply stopped from the gravitational stress. Another 38 were unconscious, their bodies unable to handle what physics had done to them. But the rest survived, and they arrived at a vision of hell. The Outer Reach sector was burning. Debris fields stretched for millions of kilometers where coalition defense fleets had made their last stands. Devourer ships moved through the wreckage like sharks, consuming the remains of both allies and enemies. They grew larger with each meal. Admiral So-hyun Nam wiped blood from her nose, a side effect of the brutal jump. Her vision cleared slowly. Status report. Captain Dong-hyun Kang's hands shook as he worked his console. 200 ships operational. Sentinel-7 still transmitting on emergency frequencies. Coalition forces in full retreat across 17 sectors. Enemy fleet estimated at 3 million vessels and growing. 3 million. So-hyun processed the number coldly. They were outnumbered 15,000 to 1. Good. At least it would be quick if they failed. Do not announce our arrival, she ordered. Go to full combat stealth. All ships. Target the nearest Devourer heavy carrier. We fire everything simultaneously. Our 5 arrival. 17. Biam. We. Young Miseo's fighter wing launched from the carrier bays in complete silence, their engines running cold. Her squadron consisted of 96 pilots. She knew most of them wouldn't see tomorrow, but that was fine. They had come here to hurt something, and the Devourers would do nicely. The hidden fleet drifted closer to its target, a massive Devourer vessel the size of a small planet. It was feeding on the remains of a coalition world, organic tendrils extending down to the shattered surface to consume every atom of useful matter. Bong Su-yoon armed the weapon systems personally. Nuclear warheads with yields measured in megatons. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds. Experimental graviton weapons that coalition science had deemed too dangerous to build. He felt sick at what he was about to unleash. But the feeling passed quickly. There would be time for guilt later, if later existed. All ships ready, Dong-hyun reported. So-hyun stared at the Devourer carrier on her screen. It hadn't noticed them yet. It was too busy eating a dead world. Fire. The hidden fleet opened fire with weapons that hadn't been used in 50 years. The silence of space, filled with nuclear fire. Dozens of warheads struck the Devourer carrier simultaneously, each one releasing enough energy to glass a continent. The creature's bio-armor burned. Kinetic rounds followed, massive tungsten penetrators traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. They punched through the weakened hull and exploded deep inside the organism. The carrier shuddered. Then Bong-su fired the graviton weapon. Space itself twisted around the target. For 3 seconds, localized gravity reached stellar core levels. The Devourer carrier compressed, its biomechanical structure unable to withstand forces meant to crush atoms. The carrier broke apart. Chunks of organic matter, the size of cities, drifted in all directions. The hidden fleet's first kill was complete. Every Devourer ship in the sector turned toward them. Well, Bong-su muttered. We got their attention. The Devourers attacked with terrifying speed. Their bioships accelerated faster than coalition vessels, their living hulls allowing maneuvers that would tear apart conventional ships. They adapted their formation, spreading out to avoid concentrated fire. Youngmi led her fighters into the swarm. All wings, break and attack. Make them chase you into firing solutions. Her fighters screamed through the vacuum, weaving between Devourer scout ships. She fired missiles at close range, watching them burn through organic armor. A Devourer vessel exploded, but 3 more took its place. They're learning, her wingman shouted. They're coordinating against us. Youngmi saw it too. The Devourers were adapting in real time, developing anti-fighter tactics as they fought. They released smaller organisms, organic drones that swarmed fighters like insects. Ignore the drones, hit the capitals, Youngmi ordered. She lost 5 fighters in the next 30 seconds. Aboard the Indomitable, Dong-hyun coordinated the fleet's defense. The Devourer's bioships regenerated damage faster than standard weapons could inflict it. Energy beams were absorbed. Kinetic rounds were healed within minutes. Only the nuclear weapons and graviton pulses had lasting effects. We're burning through our special ammunition too fast, he reported to So-hyun. At this rate, we have maybe 4 hours of sustained combat. Then we make 4 hours count, So-hyun replied. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, new priority. Destroy their ability to reproduce. Target any Devourer vessels showing signs of division or growth. The fleet shifted tactics. Bong-su identified Devourer ships in the process of creating new vessels from consumed matter and marked them for priority destruction. If they couldn't kill the whole swarm, they could at least slow its growth. Marine Commander Sung-ho Park watched the battle from the assault ship's bay. His teams were geared up for boarding actions, but so far the fight had been ship to ship. He studied the Devourer vessels through the viewports, analyzing their structure. Sir, one of his sergeants said, Those things are biological. They can be infected. Sung-ho had been thinking the same thing. Get me a channel to the Admiral. 5 minutes later, he was explaining his plan to So-hyun. Ma'am, we have biological weapons. Viral agents designed for terrestrial warfare. If we can board those ships and deploy them inside, the organisms might spread through the Devourer fleet. Boarding those things would be suicide. Dong-hyun objected. Everything we're doing is suicide, Sung-ho replied. At least this way. We take them with us. So-hyun considered it for exactly 3 seconds. Approved. Deploy your teams. Sung-ho's Marines launched in assault pods, small armored capsules designed to penetrate enemy hulls. They targeted a Devourer destroyer, one of the smaller vessels, and punched through its organic armor. The interior was a nightmare. Living corridors pulsed with alien biology. The air was thick with spores. Walls tried to digest the Marines as they passed. Combat medic Hae-won Lee moved with the assault team, her medical sensors screaming warnings about toxic atmosphere and biological contamination. She ignored them. They weren't here to survive. They were here to deliver a payload. Sung-ho led his team to what sensors indicated was the ship's central nervous system. The walls fought them every step. Organic tendrils lashed out. The ship itself became the enemy. They lost 8 Marines reaching the core. Sung-ho personally planted the viral weapon, a canister containing engineered pathogens designed to attack at the cellular level. He activated it and ordered retreat. The team fought their way back to the pods. Only 12 of 30 Marines made it back. Hae-won treated the wounded as they raced away from the Devourer ship. Behind them, the destroyer began to die. The virus spread through its organic systems, corrupting the biomechanical processes that kept it alive. The ship convulsed, its movements becoming erratic. Then it crashed into 2 other Devourer vessels, spreading the infection. It's working, Dong-hyun reported. The virus is jumping between ships through direct contact. 3 more Devourers showing signs of cellular breakdown. Sung-ho authorized more boarding actions. His Marines hit 6 more targets, each time suffering horrific casualties. Hae-won worked frantically to save the ones who made it back, her medical bay overflowing with wounded. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Hidden Fleet lost 80 ships. Youngmi's fighter wing was reduced to 34 pilots. Bong-su's exotic weapons were exhausted, but the Devourers had lost thousands of vessels. Their regeneration overwhelmed by nuclear fire and biological warfare. Then, the sensors detected something worse. Ki Jun-han, piloting the stealth frigate Ghost Protocol, had penetrated deep into Devourer territory for reconnaissance. What he found made his blood freeze. Admiral, his voice shook as he transmitted. I've located what appears to be the Devourer command structure. They're coordinating through some kind of hive consciousness, but that's not the worst part. Report, So-hyun ordered. Ma'am, I'm detecting records in their organic memory structures. These things have consumed 63 galaxies before ours. This isn't an invasion. It's what they do. They find galaxies, consume them completely, and move to the next one. We're just the latest meal. The bridge fell silent. How many ships in their total force? So-hyun asked quietly. Billions, ma'am. The 3 million we're fighting is just the scout force. The main swarm is still in dark space, waiting for the scouts to soften us up. So-hyun closed her eyes. They had thrown everything at a scouting force and barely survived. The real war hadn't even started yet. Admiral So-hyun Nam stood in what used to be Sentinel-7's command center, now converted into a makeshift war room. Around her, representatives from 12 surviving coalition species argued in a dozen languages. They had been arguing for 6 hours. The Hidden Fleet's arrival had bought them time, nothing more. The Devourer scout force was crippled, but not destroyed. The main swarm was 3 weeks away, maybe less, and humanity's secret weapons were almost exhausted. Commander Taeyong Lee approached So-hyun quietly. Ma'am, the coalition representatives want to thank you personally. Some of them are crying. I've never seen a Kelthian cry before. The cursed, they should save their tears, So-hyun replied. We haven't won anything. We just changed how fast we'll die. Dr. Minseo Yang finished her analysis of captured devourer biomatter and walked to the center of the room. The argument stopped as the young xenobiologist cleared her throat. I have bad news, she began. Everyone laughed bitterly at that. Everything was bad news. The devourers are von Neumann organisms, self-replicating on an exponential scale. Every planet they consume provides resources for 10 more ships. Based on their current growth rate and the approaching main swarm, we're looking at billions of vessels within a month. A Kelthian admiral slumped in his chair. We can't fight billions. We barely survived thousands. No, Minseo agreed. Conventional warfare is impossible. We would need to multiply Earth's fleet 1,000-fold, and we don't have the time or resources. Silence fell over the room. Lieutenant Hyun-woo Kim, now promoted to commander for his actions, spoke up. Then, what do we do? Just wait to die? Colonel Jae-sung-oh stepped forward. He was an older man, a veteran of conflicts that predated the coalition. His face was hard, his eyes colder. There is one option. Total war doctrine. So-hyun knew what was coming. She had been avoiding this conversation. We can't defeat the swarm, Jae-sung continued, but we can starve it. The devourers need matter to grow. Planets, asteroids, gas clouds, anything with mass. If we deny them resources, we limit their expansion. How do we deny them entire planets? A coalition representative asked. Jae-sung pulled up a star map. We destroy the planets ourselves. Everything in the swarm's path. We use stellar collapse bombs, planet killers, whatever it takes. Turn every world into debris fields too scattered to be useful. The swarm will have nothing to consume. The room erupted. Voices shouted over each other in horror and disbelief. You're talking about genocide. Hundreds of inhabited worlds. Trillions of lives. Jae-sung waited for the noise to die down. Yes. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We sacrifice the planets in the swarm's path to save the ones behind them. It's the only way. Dr. Ji-won Park, who had survived Sentinel-7's original ordeal, stood up. There has to be another way. We can't just murder trillions of innocents. The devourers will murder them anyway, Jae-sung replied coldly. At least this way, their deaths have meaning. They buy time for others to escape. Intelligence Officer Da-eun Kim raised her hand. I need to share something. I've been going through old coalition records. The really old ones, from before humanity joined. 10,000 years ago, the coalition's founding species fought wars that make our unification wars look peaceful. They had weapons like ours. Planet killers. Stellar bombs. Biological warfare. They nearly destroyed themselves. She pulled up ancient records. The coalition was founded specifically to prevent that darkness from returning. When they found Earth, they saw our violent history and made a decision. They would let us join, but suppress our military capability. They hoped we would evolve past our warlike nature, like they claimed they had. They lied to us. Captain Dong-hyun Kang said quietly. No, Da-eun corrected. They lied to themselves. They wanted to believe they had moved past violence, but they just buried it and pretended it didn't exist. Now they need it again, and they're horrified by what that means. Tae-young looked at the coalition representatives. Some couldn't meet his eyes. Is this true? Did you suppress humanity's military because you were afraid of what we reminded you of? An elderly Vrin counselor finally spoke. Her species had founded the coalition. Yes. We saw your wars and recognized ourselves. We thought if we could make you peaceful, it would prove we had truly changed. We were wrong. End quote. The room fell silent again. Young Mi-seo entered the war room, still in her flight suit. She had lost 62 pilots in the last battle. What are we deciding? Because my people didn't die, so we could sit around feeling sorry for ourselves. Jae-sung laid out the full plan. Operation Scorched Galaxy. Evacuate every possible civilian from planets in the Devourer's path. Then destroy those worlds. Use any means necessary. Make the galaxy itself into a weapon against the swarm. How many worlds are we talking about? Hyunwoo asked. 437 inhabited planets. Unknown number of colonies and outposts. Estimated civilian population of 800 billion. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. Ji-won was shaking. We can't save them all. There's not enough time. Or ships. No, So-hyun agreed. We save who we can, and destroy the rest. We live with the guilt, or we die with everyone else. Hyunwoo stood up, his face pale but determined. I'm the one who called for help. I asked Earth to send its monsters. I don't get to complain about the price now. He looked at So-hyun. But I need to know something. Can you live with this? Can any of us? So-hyun met his eyes. No. We'll carry this for the rest of our lives. Every planet we destroy, every person we couldn't save, it will haunt us until we die. But we do it anyway because the alternative is extinction. Not just for us, but for every living thing in this galaxy. She turned to the coalition representatives. You wanted humanity to be civilized, to be better than our violent past. We tried. We really did. But civilization is a luxury you can only afford when you're not facing extinction. Today, you need the monsters you tried to civilize out of existence. So vote. Do we become monsters together, or do we die as civilized species? The vote took 3 hours. Arguments raged. Species threatened to withdraw. Moral philosophers quoted ancient texts. Religious leaders prayed for guidance. In the end, the vote passed. 217 in favor, 212 against. A margin of 5 votes to commit the greatest act of genocide in galactic history. General Woojin Choi immediately mobilized ground forces for planetary evacuations. He had 4 weeks to save as many people as possible from 437 worlds. It was impossible, but he would try anyway. Bong Soo-yoon began manufacturing planet-killer weapons, using designs Earth had sworn never to build. Each one made him want to vomit. But his hands remained steady. Sung-ho Park's Marines prepared for riot control. Some populations would refuse to evacuate. Some would fight to stay on their homeworlds. His people would have to force them onto ships at gunpoint, or leave them behind to die. Hae-won Lee organized medical teams for the refugee crisis that would follow. Millions of displaced people, traumatized and broken. She would try to heal them, knowing it was impossible. That night, Hyunwoo found So-hyun alone on Sentinel-7's observation deck. She was staring at the stars, her face expressionless. Do you think we'll be remembered as heroes or monsters? He asked. Both, So-hyun replied. The people we save will call us heroes. Is that enough? So-hyun was quiet for a long moment. It has to be. Because we're out of other options. Our. She pulled up a message on her personal display. It was from Earth's government, finally responding to her original transmission. They were furious, terrified, and proud, in equal measure. They authorized the hidden fleet to do whatever was necessary. Hyunwoo, So-hyun said softly. You asked for monsters. Now you get to see what monsters really do. We don't just fight. We make choices that civilized people can't. We become the darkness so others can survive in the light. That's the price. Hyunwoo looked at the stars, thinking of the billions who would die in the coming weeks. Then let's make sure the price means something. Operation Scorched Galaxy began at dawn. General Woojin Choi stood on the surface of Talvex Prime, watching millions of people board evacuation ships. Behind him, the planet's beautiful crystal cities gleamed in the light of twin suns. In 6 hours, those cities would be dust. General, "We're at capacity," his aide reported. "The ships can't take any more. There are still 4 million people in the southern continent." Wu Jin closed his eyes. 4 million people who would die because there wasn't enough room. Send the ships. Start the countdown. Across 437 worlds, the same scene played out. Families torn apart as ships lifted off early. Children crying for parents left behind. Entire civilizations reduced to refugee populations crammed into cargo holds. Young Misio flew escort for a convoy of civilian transports. Her fighter wing, now down to 28 pilots, protected ships carrying 2 million refugees. Below them, the planet they were leaving began to shake. Engineer Ji-hoon Baek had designed the weapon personally, a stellar collapse bomb buried in the planet's core. When it detonated, it would destabilize the world's magnetic field and trigger a chain reaction. The planet would tear itself apart from the inside. "Bomb detonation in 3 minutes," he announced over the fleet channel. His voice was empty. He had built 12 of these devices in the last week. Young Mi pushed her fighter to maximum speed, trying to get the convoy clear. Behind them, the planet's surface began to crack. Magma fountains reached into space. The world screamed as it died. "Clear the blast radius," Young Mi ordered. The transports accelerated, their engines straining. The planet exploded. Not all at once, but in a slow-motion catastrophe that took 20 minutes. Continents separated. Oceans boiled into space. 4 million people died in fire and crushing pressure. One planet down, 436 to go. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Dong-hyun Kong coordinated the systematic destruction of entire solar systems. His tactical displays showed planets dying in real time. Each one was a red marker on his screen. Each marker represented billions of deaths. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving messages from the planets. People asking why we're doing this. Begging us to stop." "Don't listen to them," Dong-hyun ordered. "Focus on the work." But he heard them anyway. Through the thin walls of the ship, through his nightmares, through every quiet moment, the voices of the condemned, asking why. Admiral So-hyun Nam watched the operation from Sentinel-7's command center. The hidden fleet was spread across 30 sectors, each group destroying worlds in perfect coordination. It was the most efficient genocide in history. Civilian coordinator Soo Yeon-moon managed the refugee crisis that followed. Billions of displaced people arrived at temporary stations with nothing but the clothes they wore. No homes, no possessions, no future. "We have food and shelter for maybe 60% of them," she reported to So-hyun. "The rest will starve unless we get more supplies. Requisition whatever you need." So-hyun replied, "Take it from military stores if necessary." "Ma'am, that will leave the fleet undersupplied." "The fleet is about to die anyway," So-hyun said flatly. "At least the refugees might survive." The Devourer main swarm arrived 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Sensors detected an approaching wave of bioships that stretched across light years. Billions of vessels, all converging on the galactic core where the Coalition's survivors had gathered. The hidden fleet, reinforced by what remained of Coalition forces, numbered 3,000 ships, against billions. Dr. Ji-won Park and engineer Ji-hoon Baek worked frantically on a final solution. At the galactic core lay an ancient black hole, massive and stable. With modifications, they could destabilize it, create an expanding event horizon that would consume everything within 1,000 light-years. Including themselves, Ji-won presented the plan to So-hyun in private. "It's a suicide weapon. Everyone who activates it dies, but it would destroy the entire Devourer swarm and save the outer galaxies." So-hyun studied the calculations. "How many people are we saving? Billions in the spiral arms. They'll have time to evacuate deeper into safe space. And how many of us die? Everyone in the core sectors, the fleet, the refugee stations. 800 million people total." So-hyun was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. Build it. I'll deliver it personally. Word spread through the fleet quickly. The Indomitable would make a final run to the black hole, carrying a weapon that would kill everyone within 1,000 light-years. Volunteers were requested for the crew. Every single person on the ship volunteered. Captain Dong-hyun Kang refused to accept transfers off the ship. Bong Soo-yoon laughed darkly and said he wanted to see what a weaponized black hole looked like. Youngmi's remaining fighter pilots insisted on providing escort. Commander Tae-young and Lieutenant Hyun-woo tried to transfer to the Indomitable, but So-hyun refused. "You stay alive," she ordered. "Someone needs to remember what happened here." The Devourer swarm arrived like a living nightmare. Billions of bioships that blotted out the stars. The Coalition's last defensive line engaged them immediately, knowing it was hopeless. Sung-ho Park's Marines fought boarding actions on 12 ships simultaneously. The Devourers were learning, adapting, overcoming every tactic. His teams died by the hundreds. Hae-won Lee worked in a field hospital that was under constant attack. She treated wounded from 3 different species, her hands moving automatically as the world burned around her. The Indomitable began its final run, protected by Youngmi's fighters and a dozen escort frigates. The Devourer swarm realized what they were doing and concentrated fire on the dreadnought. Youngmi's fighters died in waves. She watched her squadron mates explode one by one, their sacrifice buying the Indomitable seconds of time. By the time they reached the black hole, only Youngmi and 3 other pilots survived. "Admiral," Youngmi transmitted. "It's been an honor." "Admiral, Admiral, Admiral." "The honor was mine, squadron leader," So-hyun replied. "Now get out of here." "That's an order." Youngmi and her surviving pilots turned away, accelerating toward the evacuation zone. Behind them, the Indomitable approached the black hole. On the bridge, Dong-hyun prepared the final weapon. Bong-soo made jokes about finally getting to publish a paper on impossible physics. The crew worked with calm efficiency, knowing these were their last moments. So-hyun recorded a final message. "This is Admiral So-hyun Nam to all Coalition forces. We are activating the core weapon. Evacuation window is 40 minutes. To Earth's government, tell them we did what was necessary. To the Hidden Fleet, you were the finest warriors I've ever known. To the galaxy, you're welcome." She paused, then added quietly. "To all the people we couldn't save, on all the worlds we destroyed, I'm sorry. I hope our deaths buy meaning for yours." Dong-hyun activated the device. The black hole's event horizon began to expand at relativistic speeds. The gravitational wave was visible to the naked eye, a wall of twisted space racing outward. The Devourer swarm, unable to escape faster than light-speed gravity, was consumed. Billions of bioships pulled into crushing darkness. The threat that had consumed 63 galaxies ended in an instant of infinite density, but the Indomitable and its crew went with them. So-hyun's last transmission was simple. "The old Earth sends its regards." At Sentinel-7, Hyun-woo watched on sensors as the weapon activated. The gravitational wave consumed everything. The Devourers, the fleet, the brave souls who chose to die so others could live. Tae-young stood beside him in silence. There were no words adequate for what they were witnessing. The evacuation succeeded. 800 million died, but billions survived. The galaxy mourned and rebuilt. 6 months later, a memorial station orbited the black hole's new boundary. Hyun-woo attended the dedication ceremony. Now a captain and one of the war's few surviving heroes. Dr. Ji-won Park stood with him, looking at the monument. Names carved in stone. Thousands of them. All the people who became monsters to save the galaxy. "Was it worth it?" she asked. Hyun-woo thought about Admiral So-hyun Nam and Captain Dong-hyun Kang, about Youngmi So and the pilots who died protecting the final run, about General Woo Jin Choi and the billions he couldn't save, about all the people who made impossible choices because extinction was the alternative. "They thought so," he finally said. "That's what matters." The memorial broadcast its message on all frequencies. a testament to the price of survival. Here stood humanity's darkness, so the galaxy could see light again. We became the monsters you feared. We made choices you couldn't. We died, so you could live. Forgive us. Remember us. Don't waste what we bought you. Earth's government officially recognized the Hidden Fleet. The Coalition granted humanity guardian status, acknowledging that peace requires warriors willing to bear the weight of violence, but the real memorial was quieter. In every human home, children learned about the war titans, the soldiers who went into darkness and never came back, the monsters who saved the galaxy by becoming worse than the things they fought. Hyunwoo visited Sentinel-7's observation deck one last time. The station was being decommissioned, converted into a museum. He stood where he had stood when he sent that desperate message, calling for help from monsters. "I hope you found peace," he said to the empty stars. "I hope it was worth becoming what you became." The stars offered no answer. They simply shone, made possible by those who chose darkness. And the galaxy moved forward, scarred but alive, remembering that sometimes survival demands the unthinkable. Sometimes it requires becoming the very thing civilization was built to prevent. The war titans understood that. They paid the price. And humanity would carry that burden forever, a reminder that the capacity for darkness and the will to survive are two sides of the same coin. The final message from the Indomitable played on endless loop at the memorial. "The old Earth sends its regards," and the galaxy whispered back, "Thank you. We're sorry. We'll remember."